Hi class, this is the video training on how to conduct a single sample t-test in SPSS. A single sample t-test is used to compare a sample mean to a known population mean. As you can see, it answers the question, what is the probability that this sample came from a population that has the same mean as our known population mean? If the probability, that is the p-value that you get, is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis, and we conclude that there's a significant difference between the population mean from which our sample came and the known population. So let's take a look at a specific example. In any given example, you're going to be given data that you will be analyzing, and you're going to be comparing that data to a known population mean, which you'll also be told or given. When you put this information into SPSS, what you must obtain from SPSS is what is the sample mean from the data that you're given, and the sample standard deviation. Those are the descriptive statistics. You'll also get from SPSS the t-value that is calculated, the degrees of freedom, and the p-value. In class, those are the things that you calculate and look up in the back of your book. SPSS will just do those for you. So let's work through a specific example. In this case, we have data from 5 subjects. I'm going to make up an example. These are the number of hallucinations that these 5 schizophrenic patients experience while taking the drug Symbitol. Let's say that Symbitol is an anti-hallucinogenic drug. Now we know in the general population of schizophrenics that the average number of hallucinations that they experience per day is 12. So what we're asking is, does taking Symbitol significantly reduce the number of hallucinations that schizophrenics experience? Let's put this data into SPSS and get our results that you'll see here. So let me switch over to SPSS. And here I have the data, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I've titled it hallucinations. If we go to variable view, you can see it has a long name of number of hallucinations using Symbitol. And I've done all the things you're supposed to do there. So to conduct a single sample t-test, you have your data for the sample mean. What you want to do is click on Analyze, go to Compare Means, and then instead of single sample, SPSS calls it one sample t-test. Click on one sample t-test. In this case, you'll have your data for your sample here. You want to move it over to be your test variable. And right here is where you will put the known population mean. In our case, we know that the average number of hallucinations that schizophrenics experience when they're not on the drug is 12. So we put 12. And this is going to compare the sample mean to the known population mean. We click OK. It does the t-test. It gives you your descriptive statistics. There were 5 subjects. The mean of those 5 subjects was 6, the standard deviation, and then the standard error of the mean. Note that this is the value that would be the standard deviation over the square root of the sample size. So 3.162 divided by the square root of 5 is equal to 1.414. There's your standard error of the mean. Down here you have the data that you're looking for to know whether the t-value or the t-test was significant. You have your t-value of negative 4.24 at 4 degrees of freedom, and the p-value, the significance level for a two-tailed test, the p-value is 0.013. This p-value is less than 0.05, so I say that this mean is significantly lower than the mean of 12 that we were comparing it to. And we would therefore reject the null hypothesis. So going back to our what you must obtain, you get the descriptive statistics, you get your t information, and then finally you have to put this into a write-up in APA format. So this is what a write-up looks like. The patients who took Symbitol had significantly fewer hallucinations than the general population of schizophrenics. That's the sentence. In that sentence, you put your supporting information of the descriptive statistics and then the inferential statistics and your comparison. Now, a couple of points about your write-up. Make sure when you do the write-up that you indicate what the independent variable is. In this case, it's patients who took Symbitol. In your lab, it might be the subjects who work at Company A, or it might be the students who use the study guide. So make sure somewhere in your write-up you indicate what the independent variable is. Second, you want to indicate whether there was a significant or no significant difference. Basically, you want to verbally say the p-value less than 0.05, you would say significant. If the p-value is greater than 0.05, you would say there was no significant difference. Third, you want to make sure that you indicate the direction of the difference. Were there more hallucinations, fewer hallucinations, or no difference in hallucinations? So don't just say there was a difference, say more or less. Next, indicate what the dependent variable is. In this case, the dependent variable is the number of hallucinations. So you say hallucinations. You don't just say the patients who took Symbitol scored differently or had lower scores. You need to indicate what those scores are. In this case, it's hallucinations. In your parenthetical statement, when you give the means and standard deviations or any equation, equal sign, greater than, less than, a space always goes before and after the symbol or the equation. And any statistics are italicized. So mean, standard deviation, T, P, population mean, those are all in italics. Use semicolons to separate your data. And then when you give the T information, you put T and then you put the degrees of freedom in parentheses. Then you give the actual T value, comma, and then the P value. In this case, our P value was less than 0.05. If it had been less than 0.01, I would have put less than 0.01. Make sure you finish off the comparison. They had significantly fewer hallucinations than who? Well, then the general population of schizophrenics, and then give the descriptive information for that population. This symbol is the symbol for the population mean. Basically, to create it, you have to go select, I believe it's under Insert Symbol, and then you find using Latin 1 supplement, you find the population mean. Here's my contact information again, so you can call or email me if you have a question. Now, that's the general way to do it. Now I want to walk us through the actual lab. So here's your lab assignment for the single sample t-test. You'll notice it's due in a week from today, next Thursday. Make sure you save your lab by a certain name. The goals of this lab are learn how to do a single sample t-test, learn how to read the output, and to practice writing interpretations. So the first thing you're going to do is open the employeedata.sav file, the file we've been working with, and conduct a single sample t-test to see if the women at this company are paid significantly more, less, or no different than the population mean salary of women for $31,500. Note that you'll have to separate out men and women. You can either do select cases or split file, both of which are under the data tab. So I'm going to go through this problem, but I'm going to do the men. I'm going to analyze the data from the men to show you how to do it, and then you can analyze the data from the women. So I want to open up a new data file, or actually I want to open up an existing data file. So I'll go to New File, Open Data. Select C drive, Program Files, IBM, SPSS, Statistics, Samples, English, Employee Data. Now that the data file is open, I'm going to use the Select Cases rather than Split File. So if I do Data, Select Cases, I can select if a condition is satisfied, and I can say if gender equals, and then I'm going to have to put male. Hit continue and hit OK. For you, if you're going to use this procedure, you'll do if gender equals F for female. Now that I've selected out all the females and I'm only analyzing data for the males, I would do Analyze, Compare Means, One Sample T-Test. We want to see if their current salary is different for males than the target of 31,500. So this is where you put the population mean. You click OK. Here we see the sample, the number of subjects, the sample mean, the sample standard deviation, a t-value of 8, degrees of freedom, and our p-value is less than 0.001. So men are making significantly more on average at this company than the population mean of 31,500. You'll do this, but you'll do the analysis using women, come up with your t-value and your information, and you'll write an interpretation and put that interpretation down here in your answer area. Now you have two other problems that you have to do. In this one, you open a new blank data file and enter these scores to see if they are different than this population mean. And then you do that again in a new column, entering these scores and seeing if they're different than this population mean. And then finally, you'll get a difference between those two. Finally, you have to write a paragraph where you explain why, in this case, you maybe did or did not find significance, but in this one, you found the opposite. And that's how to do your SPSS lab for the single sample t-test. Notice that I put in bold the items that you have to put an answer to down below. All right, hopefully this is going to work out, but if not, we'll switch back to the way we were doing it. That's all I have for this time. Email or call if you have any questions.